Welcome back, folks, to Hashtag AskGSM here today. I am Graham GSM Matthews, and today's edition will be dedicated to the memory of the late, great Dusty Rhodes, who unfortunately passed away last week. My full thoughts on that, they're up here on the YouTube channel. Did a video blog about it on Friday, a Facebook blog about it on Thursday. A very unfortunate incident. WWE did a tremendous tribute to the American Dream last night at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which was very touching. Catch it on the YouTube channel, on their YouTube channel. They posted a couple highlights of it, and I'm sure they're going to be doing the same tonight on Raw. But on a lighter note, though, I am wearing my Randy Orton t-shirt here today, sent to me by my bro at JTrey17 on the Twitter at JTRE17. Great dude sent me this shirt right before WrestleMania, and I appreciated that. And it's a great shirt, too. I'm really loving Randy Orton right now. And then I think what he's doing right now is a babyface, the tweener babyface thing. I think it's great. I'm really pulling for Randy Orton right now. I think he's doing some of the best work of his career, or at least in a very long time, so I'm loving it. And I felt compelled to wear my Randy Orton t-shirt here today. And it was 6 years ago today he won back the WWE title on an episode of Monday Night Raw. Fun fact for you. But anyway, hashtag AskGSM here today. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can tweet me on Twitter with the hashtag AskGSM at WrestleRant. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights, or on the wall itself, or leave a comment on this very video in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to include your question in next week's video. But of course, a lot of questions today pertaining to last night's awesome, in my opinion anyway, Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It was by no means a perfect pay-per-view, but a lot of the in-ring action was good. I enjoyed the two ladder matches. I love seeing Owens. That was by far the match of the night. Enjoyed a lot of the results when a lot of people did not, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But like I said, let's get right down to this week's questions and lots in regards to last night's show. So kicking it off, Jose K from YouTube. First question being, have Cesaro and Tyson Kidd disappeared? I didn't see Raw last week, but I didn't see them on WWE's YouTube videos. So what's going on with them? I'm surprised you haven't heard. I mean, maybe not. I mean, if you only follow the show and you don't watch, or you don't like to read the dirt sheets or the headlines, whatever, because WWE, I think, put a story about it on their website very briefly a couple weeks ago, and they never mentioned it on TV. Cesaro's been off TV, but anyway, Tyson Kidd got injured in a dark match with Samoa Joe and taking the Muscle Buster a couple weeks ago. I want to say like 3 weeks ago on Raw, maybe 2 weeks ago, and he's been diagnosed with probably a severe back injury. We don't really know the full details of it right now. All I know is that WWE Hall of Famers Edge and Stone Cold Steve Austin, both of whom had their careers ended by neck injuries, very severe neck injuries, have contacted Kidd, gave him moral support, so that's great to hear, but also not so great to hear in regards to whether this might be a lot more serious than we initially thought. I hope not. I love the tag team of Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. More importantly, I wish Tyson Kidd's okay. I hope Tyson Kidd's okay. He's a great talent in and on his own, but even with the tag team with Cesaro, those guys were ripping it up and were really starting to catch steam at the time that Tyson Kidd got injured. Now, I know this wasn't part of your question, but they didn't disappear. The only reason they're not on TV is because Kidd got injured, and I don't know if they have any plans for Cesaro, but there is no better time than right now to start pushing Cesaro as a single star. I mean, it came under unfortunate circumstances. Exactly the same thing I said, last week on Twitter when I was talking about Dusty Rhodes passing away. I mean, it sucks that it had to come under these circumstances, but I think right now is the perfect time to start pushing Cody Rhodes as the talent he's destined to be. And I say Cody Rhodes, not Stardust, not that crappy-ass gimmick. I hated it a year ago when it debuted a year ago tomorrow, and I just hate it now. I've never been a fan of the Stardust gimmick. They never sold me on it. I love Cody Rhodes. I think the guy plays every character to perfection, but he is much better off just being himself. But anyway, going back to what I was saying before, Cesaro, he should have been pushed a long time ago, but if it had to happen this way, maybe it's a telltale sign that it's time to start pushing him as the top-tier talent he is destined to be. Jose's second question, should they hold off on Dean Ambrose winning his first WWE title until next year when he can win Money in the Bank? He is one of the most perfect superstars that could take advantage of the psychological warfare with having the case, messing around with the mind of Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar. What are your thoughts? I don't know if I would wait until... I mean, I love the idea. I would have given the briefcase to Dean Ambrose. I'm going to talk about Sheamus winning it in a few minutes. I felt like Ambrose should have won it this year. Either him or Kevin Owens. They were both busy in other matches on the show. Both were great matches. But Ambrose, because he didn't win the World Championship, I mean, I'm glad we got a full-on feud between Rollins and Ambrose over the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But that briefcase should have been Ambrose's. I mean, Reigns, that would have been fine with, but Ambrose, like, that fits him like a glove, That briefcase that he's tried so hard to take off of Seth Rollins last year when they were feuding, it would have been, poetic justice if he was going to win it this year and then go on to win his first WWE World Heavyweight title either this summer or later on this year. I mean, I see your thinking there and waiting until next year. Maybe he wins it before then, and that's his way of getting back in the title picture. I don't know. I just feel like next year might be too long, or just might be too long of a wait. I don't know when he's going to win it the next year, but I just feel like he's so popular right now, there is no reason for him not to win that belt before the end of the year, or at least I'm hoping so. So I hope they don't wait until next year, but if they do, that'd be the perfect way of getting him in the title picture again, because as you said, I feel like he is one of the most perfect guys that screams Mr. Money in the Bank. The first KFC's got a couple questions here. First one being, when will Sheamus cash in? Again, I'll give my thoughts on Sheamus winning in just a couple minutes. Someone else asked a question about that. When will I see Sheamus cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase? Well, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I don't think it's going to be, some people thought it might have been last night. It just doesn't feel like the time is right. Then again, I thought Roman Reigns was going to win the ladder match, so what do I know? I just don't feel like there's any real reason for him to cash in. I do think he should cash in successfully, and again, I'll get into my thoughts on that in a second. They're not very popular thoughts, but I'll get into that in a minute. But, I don't think there's any real reason to have him cash in at any point in the next 2 months, at the least. Maybe later on this year, maybe Lesnar wins the belt, and then Sheamus cashes then. But I feel like even then, that was way too reminiscent of WrestleMania when Rollins cashed in, he pinned Reigns, and that was a perfect scenario. In this case, I don't know. I don't want to see the same exact thing done twice. That was so perfect. Don't try to repeat it. That was innovative. It was original, and it was awesome. And I don't want to see it repeated, or at least at any point in the near future. So I don't think he's going to cash in for a while. Maybe he cashes in and loses at some point in the next 2 months. I don't know. I would hope not, but and in my personal opinion, I just don't see it happening. So maybe in the fall, I'll go with either in the fall or in the winter. I don't see him going into WrestleMania 31 as champ, or 32 as champion rather. But maybe in the fall he'll try to cash in successfully or unsuccessfully, not for anytime soon. Or at least I don't think so. That's my prediction on it. His second question, what is your least favorite Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins match? Well, that's a really hard question. It's a really good question, a really hard question to answer, considering how all of their matches have been very enjoyable. I've loved them all. I think, let's see, they've had a couple matches on Raw and SmackDown, and they had one on SmackDown and one on Raw. They had the SummerSlam match, so that's 3. The night after SummerSlam and Falls Count Anywhere, no disqualification, whatever it was. The Hell in a Cell match, the Elimination Chamber match, not inside the chamber, but it was at the chamber pay-per-view, standard singles match. And then the match from last night. So 7 or 8 matches they've had. I lost track there for a second. The match they had last night, the ladder match. A lot of people, not a lot of people, a good decent amount of people did not love last night's ladder match, and that's okay. I personally really enjoyed it. I thought it told a great story. And again, I've loved all their matches, but if I had to pick one that I did not enjoy, like my least favorite, again, it sounds a lot more harsh than it actually is because I've loved them all. Maybe the Hell in a Cell one. I mean, I thought it was good. The finish, I mean, Rollins didn't have a problem with winning. I just thought the interference and why it was dumb. I mean, I understood it led to the feud with him and Ambrose, but just interference inside Hell in a Cell, I just don't get it. I don't think it should ever happen. It kind of diminishes the whole point of Hell in a Cell. Same thing with steel cage matches. I don't get interference in steel cage matches. That's the whole purpose of why that match was built. That match was constructed. The cage was constructed, so I don't get that. But, they took a lot of cool spots in that match, and I enjoyed it. But again, I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as some of the other matches. Maybe either the Hell in a Cell match or the one from Chamber, which was also a great match, and the finish was surprising. I just never thought there was a chance of Ambrose winning until he got the 1, 2, 3, and of course the decision was reversed. But before that, though, the crowd just wasn't really into it until down the stretch. It was a terrible crowd to begin with. So maybe either the Chamber match, a standard singles match, or the Hell in a Cell match from the October pay-per-view last year. Andre G, moving into the Facebook questions here. His first one is, do you see the Addiction coming to the WWE? So for those unfamiliar, for those not familiar, the Addiction is Christopher Daniels and Kaz, or Frankie Kazarian, in Ring of Honor. They were formerly known as Bad Influence in TNA. I was a huge fan of them then. I'm a huge fan of them now. A huge fan of them then, and then a huge fan of them now. I think they're great. I can't believe TNA let them go. They're such great talents. I understand they're getting up there in age, but the whole excuse when they got rid of them was that, we're going in a different direction, which was absolute bullshit. I mean, I know they've had a lot of good tag teams, but the Hardys are not. I mean, one of them got hurt. 3D was not a full-time tag team. They have the Wolves. They have the Dirty Heels, but that was a year later, so I don't know what new direction they're going. And that was a bullshit excuse. It's not like they have a newfound youth movement in TNA. Kurt Angle's the fucking TNA World Heavyweight Champion. So don't give me that bullshit. I love Kurt Angle, but come on, the Hardys were champions again. I love that move. Their first ever TNA Tag Team Championship win, but again, they're a lot older than some of the other young guys in TNA right now. So that is no excuse. But anyway, I'm glad they're in Ring of Honor and just ripping it up. I believe they're the current ROH Tag Team Champions. But anyway, do I see them coming to the WWE? Likely not. I mean, I didn't think Joe was coming to the WWE, so again, what do I know? But I just feel like they wouldn't use them right to begin with. I think the Young Bucks are wise to not go over to WWE or at least consider. I mean, they should consider bringing them in, but I mean, I know that money would be right for them. I mean, it would be big bucks, but maybe not enough. I mean, AJ Styles is making a lot more money over in Japan and in Ring of Honor than he would have been in TNA. I mean, TNA and WWE are two completely different beasts. But if the Young Bucks were on Superstars every week, they'd probably be making the same paycheck regardless. They would not be able to have the same matches they're having over in Ring of Honor with all the false finishes and the super kicks and the pile drivers. They would be completely watered down, trust me. They'd still be a great tag team. They just would not be the tag team they currently are overseas and Ring of Honor, whatever. But going back to the addiction, though, I think considering both guys are in their late 30s or early 40s, I mean, I think Christopher Daniels, correct me if I'm wrong, I just remember reading some report, it might have been false, that when his TNA contract expired 5 years ago, he came over to the WWE trying to look for work and see if they were interested, and they weren't. They didn't want him, so he went back to TNA in 2011. So, I mean, I think Kaz and Daniels are more of a valuable package than just Daniels or Kazarian on their own. But again, I would love to see them in WWE. I just don't think it's possible. I don't think they'll pick them up at this point in time. Maybe 5-6 years ago, when there was more of a chance in WWE, and they were younger. But I don't know if Samoa Joe can come over. Anything's possible. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. His next question: did you see Chris Hero becoming a big star in WWE? Or I think that's the question he's trying to ask. There's a few words left out, but I think that was the question he's trying to go for. I didn't see Chris Hero, Cassius Ohno, or whatever his name was in NXT, becoming like the next CM Punk or anything like that. But I did feel like he could have been called up and been successful. And when I say that, I mean, at the time he got released in late 2013, Cesaro wasn't doing anything. They were wasting him for most of 2013. And when they finally started doing something with him again, he was in the tag team, but it wasn't with Ohno. His former Kings of Wrestling tag team partner. I almost said Kings of the Ring. Kings of Wrestling tag team partner. Over Antonio Cesaro, Claudio Castiglione. I always mispronounce that, from Ring of Honor. And they were one of the world's best tag teams at their peak. And I mean, they didn't do it with Cesaro. They did it with Swagger instead. So they didn't do it with Ohno. They did it with Swagger instead. That could have been their perfect opportunity. I love the Real Americans, and someone else asked a question about them, which I'll get to in a couple minutes. But I was surprised. Why did they just call up him and then do those two guys as a tag team? It's not like WWE doesn't know of their history as a tag team. They got hired at pretty much the same time, I believe. They both got hired in late 2011, and then Cesaro got called up way sooner than Ohno did. Ohno never ended up getting called up. He was in NXT for a long ass time. And he ended up getting released, like I said, in late 2013, which is a shame. But I was never a huge... I don't know what it was. I was just never a huge Chris Hero fan. It's not like he bored me, but, compared to Cesaro and Rollins and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and all these other Ring of Honor talent, I don't know. I was just never really attached to Chris Hero like I was some of these other guys from Ring of Honor. And maybe it's just because I wasn't watching NXT on the regular when he was in NXT. I mean, I wasn't watching NXT on a regular basis from like a yearly period from the summer of 2012, and then I started watching again in the summer of 2013. So when he was doing his best work, I wasn't watching, so I don't know. But that said, though, I mean, I feel like they could have at least brought him up and put him in a tag team. I guess the reason why they got rid of him was because he wasn't getting an in-ring shape. And that's on him. If you don't do what the company tells you to do, I mean, it may not be necessarily right. I don't think his physique was that bad. But, I mean, when you're a part of a company like that and they tell you to do something, I mean, Owens, he may not have liked, I guess from Jim Cornette's point of view, they told him to get in better shape when he was Ring of Honor champion. He said no, but they still pushed him anyway. But when WWE told him to get in better shape, he did. I mean, of course he's going to do that because it's WWE. He wants to be successful. He wants that big-time shot. But anyway, But if you don't do what they tell you, regardless of what how right you may think it might be, or how wrong you might think it might be, whatever, you're gonna get fired and then be getting let go in late 2013. Like I said, I don't think Triple H was a huge Chris Hero fan. I don't think Triple H was a Chris Hero fan at all, from what I've read. I don't think he was very high on his abilities, which is a shame because I think the guy was good. But again, I never really saw him becoming like the next Punk or Bryan or Rollins as it is now. I think he could have been a successful tag team guy or maybe a Paul Heyman guy, which someone, pointed out at one point. But, on his own, I never really saw him being like a future world champion or anything like that. His third question, should Ty Dillinger be the one who took out Hideo Itami? I never really thought about that, but I would love to see it. I mean, there's a lot of speculation, for myself included, that it could have been Kevin Owens, and that would be nice for you to do when he comes back. But Kevin Owens is pretty much a main roster material right now. He's a main roster exclusive guy. He'll be in NXT for the next couple of tapings, maybe just the next taping. I don't know. But there's no reason for him to be back in NXT full time just to feud with Hideo Itami. So I don't think it's going to be Owens. But Ty Dillinger, I've talked about him before here on the show. I think he is one of, if not the most underutilized guy in NXT right now. He is so damn good. I was never really high on his abilities. I mean, we never really got to see much of him back when he was in WWE in like 08, 09 when he was, as Gavin Spears. But since he got rehired about a year or two ago, he's shown a lot more personality in like short and small spurts. It wasn't like, he's never really had a run, really. He's never really been pushed. But in the squash matches he's competed in, he showed personality. He's a natural in the ring. And he's got a good look, too. So I'm surprised they're not doing more with him. I mean, I know there's a lot of NXT talent, but you don't need to make the guy a jobber. That you could at least try doing something with him, pushing him more than Baron Corbin, who I do agree has a good look. I just think he's very limited right now, and there's only so much you could do with him, unfortunately. But anyway, I think with Ty Dillinger, people might be like, oh, Ty Dillinger, that's it. It might be a letdown for some people, but at the same time, it might be a big, to reveal him as Hideo Itami's attacker I'm talking about, I think it might be a huge rub for the guy. Like, wow, he attacked Hideo Itami, he put him on the shelf for 6 months, I'm going to start taking this guy seriously. It's going to take time to start building him up again, or just building him up, period. But I think it's worth it. I think the guy is worth the investment. He is very good. I'm surprised they're not doing more with him right now. So, I would love to see that. I didn't think about that, but I think it's a great idea, and I would definitely go with that. Next set of questions from Muhammad D's got a couple questions from last night's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. First one being, were you surprised that Sheamus was this year's Mr. Money in the Bank? Also, does this diminish the significance of the Money in the Bank briefcase as a whole based on this year's outcome, and why? So bottom line, I liked it. I did not, there were not a lot of people agreeing with me on Sheamus winning Money in the Bank, which is fine. I understood there was going to be a lot of hate. But, here's the thing. With people complaining about or voicing their concerns or whatever about this match now, Sheamus winning is a waste. Why wouldn't you make a new star? Listen, I mean, I've talked about this with John numerous times in the past. You can't do, this was his idea initially, and I absolutely agree with him on this. You can't do the same story every year. Young up-and-comer gets the briefcase, cashes in, wins their first world title. It's going to get boring, when they use that briefcase for different reasons over the last couple of years. Not every guy who has cashed in that briefcase has been, as an up-and-coming rookie, has never before been a world champion, stuff like that. I know Ziggler's first reign didn't really technically count, but he was in the main event scene a couple times before he won that briefcase. And I can guarantee you, people saying, oh, it should have been used to make a young star last night. Yet if Dolph Ziggler won, people would have been going crazy. I would have been going crazy, but that's double standards. People just say that because they don't like Sheamus. And I don't understand the Sheamus hate. I find a lot of people hate Sheamus, which is okay. I'm not a Sheamus fan, so you can't blame it on, oh, you're biased. If Miz won, I was cheering, I understand, okay, I'm biased towards the Miz, of course I'm going to love it, or Ryback or whoever. But in Sheamus' case, I'm not that big of a Sheamus fan at all. I'm not a huge Sheamus mark whatsoever. Yet I like the outcome of that match for a number of reasons. I'm writing an article about this as we speak. It should be up tomorrow on Hidden Remote. First of all, no one saw it coming. A lot of people were bitching and moaning that the Money in the Bank ladder match would have been too predictable, and people would have been complaining regardless if Roman Reigns won, because I don't like Roman Reigns. It would have been too predictable, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't have a problem with that, because I think Roman Reigns would have been a logical choice anyway, but I guess they have other plans for him right now, so that's fine. Sheamus was completely out of left field. He has been in the main event for a number of years now. He is ripping it up right now. I think he's freaking great as a heel, and he's been great since the day he came back, the night after WrestleMania. Again, I'm not even a huge Sheamus fan, and I've been loving this guy's work since he came back as a heel. He is so much more comfortable in that role. And again, do you have to have him cash in successfully? No, you don't. But he hasn't been world champion in 3 years. It's something new. Neville clearly is not ready for the main event. I do not see him being WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I am not a Neville hater. I love Neville. I think he's great. But he wouldn't have really made that much sense as Money in the Bank. Randy Orton I'm a huge Orton fan, as you can see from wearing the t-shirt, but he's a guy that can go in a main event anyway. He was just contending for the title 2 weeks ago. He doesn't need the briefcase again. Sheamus has never won the match before. Kofi Kingston would have been cool. I don't think they would have gone. That was a long shot. Would have been awesome, though, but I didn't really see that one happening. Who else? Again, Ziggler, double standards. People would have been cheering for that over Sheamus any day of the week. Again, he was in the main event a couple times. So is Sheamus, but it's the same exact situation. It does not need to be a young up-and-comer winning that match. And if you don't like Sheamus winning the match, it's completely cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people were just shocked that I love the outcome of that match. And I'm explaining to you right here, right now. I wrote this in my review of the show also at nextyearwrestling.net. Cheap plug. But it was something that no one saw coming for the most part. Some people predicted Sheamus, and a part of the panels that I was a part of in the days leading up to the pay-per-view. But for the most part, a lot of people went with either Roman Reigns winning, or maybe Neville as a dark horse, or Kofi Kingston. I saw a couple people picking him as a long shot as well. Sheamus was kind of like the forgotten one. I'm glad he won it. I think it's nice. He's been doing some of the best work of his career since he won that Money in the Bank ladder match. It does not diminish the match at all. It was a fun match. Greatest Money in the Bank of all time? Absolutely not. Not even close. I enjoyed the match, though. And again, the Money in the Bank, same thing with the Royal Rumble, does not always need to go to an up-and-coming star. Like, you don't need to have it, you don't need to give it to guys like John Cena. Like, I'm not saying that, but if you want to give it to a guy that hasn't been world champion in a while, like a Miz, or a Sheamus, or a Ziggler, or whoever, that's fine. You know, you can switch up the formula. Don't do the same tired old bullshit. You know, I'm all for making new stars, but you can't have Bryan, make a new star to Bryan, have him win the world title at WrestleMania, beat the old timer. You can't do the same story every year. You got to change it up. I think this is the new story. I think it's cool. No one saw it coming. For everyone that complains about predictability in today's day and age in WWE, no one saw this coming. So I think that's what I loved more about it than anything else. It was completely out of left field. I'm not saying he deserves it, Sheamus, but the guy's a heel. As a babyface, I would have hated it. But now that he's a heel, he's doing the best work of his career. I'm a huge fan of his now, that him being Mr. Money in the Bank. I'm not a huge Sheamus mark, like I said before, but him winning the Money in the Bank, I'm a fan of the finish. I think it's cool. And moreover than anything else, as a few other people pointed out to me last night, it might lead to us getting Lesnar versus Sheamus, the match I've been looking forward to for years since Lesnar first came back to the company back in 2012. So if we can get that match out of this Money in the Bank run with Sheamus, then I'm all for it. Muhammad's next question: who and when do you feel Sheamus will cash in on his Money in the Bank contract? Also, any chance we'll see a Money in the Bank briefcase changing hands during the course from now until the next year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view? You don't need to give the briefcase to anyone else. Then why give it to Sheamus to begin with? I know people were hoping for a Lesnar return. The guy still has his rematch. Why would he need the briefcase? I mean, that would have been cool. I'm not saying I would have hated that finish, but he has his rematch. He will get his rematch either at Battleground or SummerSlam, hopefully against Rollins. So there was no reason for him to win the briefcase. I mean, it would have been a cool story, like I said, but from a storyline standpoint, it wouldn't have made that much sense. So that's one thing. So you don't need to give the briefcase to anyone else. Then why have Sheamus to win it to begin with? Just have them win the match. I thought the whole Edge and Kennedy thing was dumb, and Kennedy wasn't even injured to begin with. I mean, that's going back years. But still, I mean, that was an instance where they thought Kennedy was hurt, and he actually wasn't hurt. That's the only reason we switched that contract. Anyone else in the last 10 years has always kept on to that contract and either cashed it in successfully or unsuccessfully. There's no reason to give it to anyone else. Who will he cash in on? Like I said before, I really have no idea. When? Again, I have no idea. Probably in the fall. Either against a Roman Reigns. I could see a Reigns-Sheamus program. Lesnar, I mean, it would be cool, but Lesnar got cashed in on at WrestleMania. I know he wasn't the one pinned, but it was his match. He did lose that title to the Money in the Bank winner. To do it twice in a row, this soon, I don't know about that. So I wouldn't go with Lesnar. Maybe Rollins again. Some people have pitched the idea of Sheamus being like a handpicked authority member, having Rollins. I don't know if you would turn Rollins babyface. I feel like it's too soon for that. In the feud between Rollins and Triple H, I feel like Triple H should be the babyface. But whatever, you can have it go either way. But in that scenario, you would have Sheamus be the new handpicked guy by the authority, cashes in, becomes their champion. Rollins, who has been boasting, I could do it by myself. I don't need the authority. I'm the greatest of all time. They turn on Rollins. He becomes a babyface, maybe. I don't know. But, Sheamus takes his spot. So I could see a Rollins-Sheamus feud down the line. That'd be pretty cool. So I would put my money on either Rollins or if Roman Reigns wins the belt at some point between now and the end of the year. Or maybe an Ambrose. One of the three Shield members I'll probably put my money on. Sheamus cashing in on to win that WWE World Heavyweight title or not win that WWE title. We'll have to wait and see. His next question. With his loss to R-Truth, out of all people during the kickoff of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, do you feel King Barrett's title as King of the Ring has been deemed meaningless? Also, do you feel that Barrett is officially as useless when it comes to the King of the Ring title as Sheamus was when he was King Sheamus? Absolutely. I mean, I hate to say it. It really pains me to say it, but the King Barrett thing is not working out. I mean, the only reason why I wanted to see him win it to begin with was because I thought it might lead to a push. Stupid me. I mean, thinking back to the Sheamus gimmick, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I was really hoping for a Barrett push. Why would you give the guy the crown to begin with? Why not just give it to a Ziggler or an Ambrose, or even Neville, for God's sakes? At least they're going to push the guy. But I thought that was their opportunity to start pushing him, and they haven't. He's lost to R-Truth on multiple occasions in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and they've been burying him. I hate to use the word burial. I rarely use the word, but... And I know, he's former Intercontinental Champion. He's King of the Ring. It doesn't matter. He ruined both those titles. They ruined it for him. The creative team did. But that reign as Intercontinental Champion was terrible. He had all of 1 or 2 title defenses in a 3-month span. The matches sucked. He lost all of his matches, and no one took him seriously. And he dropped the title at WrestleMania. He was a transitional champion going into WrestleMania 31 this year. And then the King of the Ring stuff, while it started out good and they started giving him a few wins, they ruined it when they had him lose every single week to Neville and then to Dolph Ziggler and then to R-Truth of all people. That was what ruined it for me. That was the final nail in the coffin. It sucks, it really sucks. For a guy with as much talent as him, it continues, my mind continues to be boggled by this company and how they're utilizing him, not utilizing him, rather. Just as an enhancement talent. It's ridiculous. I'm baffled. I'm absolutely baffled that they continue to ruin this guy. For the 5 years, he has not been given a fair shake since the whole Nexus run ended. I know he's gotten injured, all this other shit. I get that. But when it comes down to it, it is more so the booking's fault than him being injury prone. When he got injured last summer and he was, he was doing the best work of his career, he started getting over as, other than the Nexus stuff, doing the bad news thing. He came back. He was over. People cheered. And then, from that point forward, when they should have gone forward with him as a babyface, they turned a back heel, and they made him shitty again, and then people just stopped caring. That's WWE's fault. Years ago, after the Nexus thing, when he was doing, again, some of the best work of his career as the Nexus leader, it was not, him getting injured. It was them booking him like a loser. It was them booking the core like losers. It was them booking him as Intercontinental Champion those 5 times as a loser. That comes back to WWE. So, sucks to see. Should he just say, fuck it, I'm out of here? Maybe. I'm not really sure. But, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know where he's going next. I don't care if he has a movie to film or not. You do not, and you do not, I repeat, you do not have anyone lose to R-Truth if they're that talented as a Wade Barrett or a Stardust, a Cody Rhodes, whatever. You do not have those people lose to R-Truth. I like R-Truth. I don't really like R-Truth. He can be entertaining. He's a good comedy guy. I'm fine with R-Truth. I can say that. I'm fine with R-Truth, but you just do not have him beat promising talents. It doesn't make any sense. R-Truth has no credibility. I can't get into the guy, and no one's going to get into Barrett either if he continues to lose all these meaningless matches, especially while he's supposed to be the King of the Ring. The King of the Ring is supposed to mean you are the best this goddamn company has to offer. You are the king of this freaking ring. You beat everybody. You're the best this company has to offer right now. Yet you're losing every other match. What sense does that make? Why give him the crown to begin with? This stupid gear last night was even dumber. When Miz does the sleeveless jacket, of course it looks stupid, But it's supposed to come off as douchey. In Barrett's case, he just looked freaking silly as hell, and no one's going to take him seriously. So, again, sad, depressing to see. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know if I've officially lost hope with them and them pushing him, but it's sad to see. That's all I can really say about Wade Barrett right now. His next question, what are your thoughts on the Primetime Players finally winning the tag team titles that they were supposed to have during their first foray in the tag team scene? Was it too soon? Was it a shocker? And were you happy to see them win? I was ecstatic to see the Primetime Players win. Anyone who knows me knows that I've been a huge Primetime Players fan since they joined forces 3.5 years ago. These guys are so good. Darren Young is a good in-ring guy. Titus is so charismatic. I don't know if they can be successful on their own. They showed that last year. I know Young was out injured, but when he came back, I doubt he's going to be anything of note in singles competition. They wasted Titus O'Neil in the in Superstars Hell, so main event Hell for months. So it was the best thing they could have done was to put these guys back together. And you're absolutely right. They should have won those belts the first time around. Why they didn't have them drop the belts to they didn't have R-Truth and Kofi drop the championships to the Primetime Players back during their first run back in 2012, the summer of 2012. I'll have no idea. Granted, we got a great run out of Hell No from it. They beat Kingston and Truth for the belts, but the Primetime Players should have won those championships at least once during their reign together in those respective years, from 2012 when they broke up in 2014, which made no sense then. It makes no sense now, but at least they're back together. And I'm glad they're champions. I mean, maybe if they waited until next month, maybe people wouldn't have cared as much. I mean, another place didn't go, come unglued when they won the belts last night, but that's because it was right after that very hot the champion versus champion match between Cena and Owens, by far the match of the night. What else can you expect, If they did it as the opener, it would have packed more of a punch, but nevertheless, though, very happy to see them finally win gold. They are very deserving of that tag team title run. And I'm looking forward to them ripping it up with the New Day and maybe even the Wyatt family at SummerSlam. People are already calling them transitional champions, which is fine. And I'll get into my thoughts about them winning the belts in a second. At the end of the show, RJ also asked a question about that. But I feel like they were very deserving. It was a long time coming. Very happy to see it. Probably my favorite moment from the show last night. Favorite match is Cena and Owens. Favorite moment was them winning the belts. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them, hopefully feud of the Wyatts going into SummerSlam or Battleground over those tag team titles. So his next question, with the shocking outcome of the Money in the Bank briefcase match, do you feel that the WWE has successfully and effectively thrown a curveball to all of the IWC who expected Roman Reigns to win the briefcase? Also, does this outcome change any plans the IWC predicted to happen going into SummerSlam and WrestleMania 32? So you got a couple questions here packed in one, but let me see. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I feel like the best part of that Money in the Bank ladder match was the fact they effectively swerved me, and most of the IWC, because no one saw it coming. People would have bitched and moaned if Reigns won anyway, so I don't want to hear, I didn't see anyone saying that last night when Sheamus won, I wish Reigns would have won. Then who else would you have won? Maybe Kingston, I can see that, maybe. Neville was not ready. I love Neville. Again, I just don't see him being championship material. He's not at that level yet. He came close. He had a hell of a showing in that matchup, but he shouldn't have won. Ziggler, yeah, sure, but don't complain that, Sheamus is, we've seen that before. They should have given it to an up-and-coming star. Then why would you say Ziggler? That doesn't make any sense. I'm a Ziggler fan. I don't even get that, But whatever. That's the best part I liked about that match, was the fact that no one saw it coming. Great swerve. I was surprised. But anyway, what plans does this change? Does this change our SummerSlam outlook? Kind of. I mean, part of that, not because Sheamus won, but mostly because Roman Reigns didn't. I was hell-bent, not that because I wanted to see him win, but I thought it was extremely predictable that Roman Reigns was going to win, and they would go on to do him and Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. One turns heel on the other, whatever, and then one of them maybe cashes in that same night on Rollins or Lesnar or whoever. And that pretty much kind of not ruined those plans, but just threw them completely off track. So I have no idea what to expect, which I think is even better, because I would rather not know and be surprised by WWE. Hopefully it's a better plan than that. But I'm glad they swerved us. So yeah, like I said, I thought we were going to get Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. It does not look like that's the case, and I'm happy about that. I mean, that'd be a good feud, but I feel like you can't turn either one of them heel right now. Ambrose is so over. Roman Reigns is finally gaining traction as a babyface. So there's no reason to turn either one of them heel right now. So I'm glad we're not getting that feud, or presumably if Reigns is moving into a feud with Bray Wyatt for the meantime. So yeah, it kind of does change my outlook on what SummerSlam might look like. I don't know what you do with Dean Ambrose. Someone else asked the question about that. I'll get to that in a couple minutes. But yeah, I really now have no idea. Other than, I mean, I still think Lesnar versus Rollins is still happening at SummerSlam or Battleground. But in terms of what Ambrose does, or Reigns rather, too, I have no idea. And I think that's better left that way, because I'd rather not know and have WWE surprise me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. Hopefully it's good. His final question here. Now, as he puts in all caps, the $1 million question: will the Shield Triple Threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 32, will it still happen, regardless of the current Money in the Bank briefcase holder? I think it might not happen, but not because Sheamus is Mr. Money in the Bank. I think it might not happen because I feel like you're going to do Rollins and Triple H at WrestleMania. To do it at SummerSlam is way too soon. You got to hold off on it. That's a WrestleMania match. So you can't do the triple threat in that case, which is fine. These guys are going to be around for a long-ass time. You don't need to rush into it. Would be awesome to do over the championship, but that doesn't mean if you don't do it at WrestleMania, you'll never be able to do it. People are saying maybe we get it at SummerSlam, but with Reigns feuding with Wyatt and Ambrose just losing again to Seth Rollins for the third consecutive pay-per-view, it wouldn't make any sense to have him lose here. So, or to have Ambrose in the title picture again come SummerSlam. So, I don't think we're getting it at SummerSlam either. We probably will not get it there either. But at WrestleMania, maybe. But again, like I said before, I feel like Rollins versus Triple H is set in stone for WrestleMania, or at least it should be, which means no triple threat, but you could save it for a future WrestleMania or future pay-per-view, whatever. In my opinion, you got a couple of years to do it. You can hold on to it until WrestleMania 2017, WrestleMania 33 if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. So, I don't think Sheamus being Mr. Money in the Bank really changes any of those plans anyway, because like I said before, I don't feel like he'll be involved in the title picture. I mean, I like Sheamus as a heel, but I don't feel like he's WrestleMania headlining material in this current character. Not even as a babyface did I feel like he should have been in that world title match at 28. But anyway, I don't feel like he'll be a part of that championship match come WrestleMania 32. Next question comes from Justin G's got a couple questions here. First one being, I think that the name The Core was a really impressive name by the WWE, and I really wish that turned into a much more dominant stable on SmackDown. Do you think that The Core versus Nexus could have been something big in the WWE if booked right? So, funny story for you. I mean, I don't know how many people heard this or not, but I remember Wade Barrett talking about it in an interview. I know this is completely not irrelevant, but it's kind of like a sidetrack, whatever. I digress. But the story was that Heath Slater, when Barrett told Slater to go copyright the name, put in a trademark for the Core name so they can use it for their stable, like right before the stable debuted on SmackDown, Slater, for whatever reason, thought the word Core was spelled C-O-R-R-E, not C-O-R-E, so he completely spelled R wrong. That was the only reason why they spelled it that way. It's not because WWE didn't want to spell it as C-O-R-E. Slater just apparently didn't know how to spell the word core, so they spelled it with two R's. They already trademarked it, so they just stuck with that. So that's the only reason why there were two R's. So it's kind of a funny story. I remember reading that a couple years ago. I just thought it was funny, typical Heath Slater. But anyway, yeah, I thought we were going to get that match at WrestleMania 27. It was, I don't know if it was at one point booked, but it was at one point looking like we were going to get it, because if you look back on the whole month of January in 2011, they were teasing that feud for WrestleMania 27. They had the Core Nexus. They did the whole Punk and Barrett match on Raw. Nexus leader versus Core leader. They clashed a couple times at the start of the Royal Rumble match. And in retrospect, what was the point of that if they were going to have the two stables face off at WrestleMania? By that point, the Core was holding the IC title, the tag team title, so it would have been cool. And the Nexus was effectively destroyed by Randy Orton leading into the pay-per-view, and then ended up going with Punk and Orton instead, which was a great match. But I don't know who you would have turned babyface in that case, because you couldn't have done two heel stables, because people just, who would they cheer for, I mean, it would have been cool, though, and I'm surprised they never ended up going that direction. I mean, after WrestleMania, the Core was done. They died at WrestleMania. One can argue they died before that, but at WrestleMania, when they lost in 90 seconds to Big Show, Kane, Santino, and Kofi Kingston, that was when they died, in my opinion, so there was no doing the match after that. But, yeah, they missed a golden opportunity to do a Core versus Nexus match. I'm not saying it could have been like the Shield versus the Wyatt family, not even close. But it would have been cool, though, considering they were the two biggest factions, or at least for a couple weeks in early 2011. His next question, last night at Money in the Bank, we saw a fucking fantastic, in his words, match, and I absolutely agree, with Cena and Owens. Is this the end of the road of Cena versus Owens, as Owens has Samoa Joe and Finn Balor to deal with in the coming weeks, or is the Cena-Owens rivalry just kicking off? I think it's just kicking off. I mean, I think last night, maybe if Owens won twice in a row, maybe like, oh, okay, maybe this is over. But when you have Cena win, rubber match all the way. I mean, that was the first thing that popped in everyone's mind. Although I did not like the finish, I love the match. I like the fact that Owens beat him up afterwards. It's just not the point, though. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. But, I just feel like Owens should have won. It should not have been another John Cena, you win a match, I win a match, even Steven booking feud. It shouldn't have been that way. I don't know why they did that, but, again, people are like, oh, he kicked out of 3 attitude adjustments or 2 attitude adjustments. He'll be just fine. I'm not saying he's buried. I'm not saying that at all. I think Cena made him look like a fucking $1,000,000 last night in that match. But what I'm saying is that I love the feud. I think it's going to continue to be great with their promos and their matches, whatever. Just the typical Cena booking of it. And it doesn't, maybe Owens wins in the end, which is fine. But I'm just saying, the even Stevens booking, they really should have had Owens be that one guy that Cena could not beat. Or at least yet. I mean, if Cena won their match at SummerSlam, I'd be like, cool, it's fine. So they built up this story of months and months and months. Cena cannot beat this guy, and he finally beats him. It's going to mean something. To beat him 2 weeks after Owens beat him clean at Money in the Bank, without the championship being on the line, mind you, made absolutely no sense. So I don't know why they did that, but whatever. But yeah, anyway, going back to your question, the feud is just kicking off. You can't just end it there with Cena winning, and then even more so than that, Owens beating him up afterwards. Definitely a huge indicator the feud will be continuing. I don't know if they do the rubber match at Battleground. Maybe they do a 4th match at SummerSlam. I don't know. But I can't assure you, though, this is not the end of the line of this feud. Maybe they go a completely different direction tonight. I don't know. I would hope not. But in the meantime, though, I don't think, that it'd be dumb for them to cut it off right now anyway. After that hot match last night and that amazing match from the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view from 2 weeks ago. His next question, a lot of people are talking about Adrian Neville's push by the WWE in recent weeks, leading up to Money in the Bank. Do you think that this little mini nudge of a push will continue, or is it back down to the mid-card for him? I mean, he never really left the mid-card, which is not a bad place for him to be in. I mean, he's not like a Bo Dallas. Why they even bother pushing him for 2 weeks anyway is beyond me. But anyway, he was always really in the mid-card, so it's not like he was main eventing or anything like that. I know they wanted to make him a dark horse. It was cool to see him close SmackDown as him holding the briefcase. Nice little teaser. Could he win? He has a chance of winning. A little too late, but still cool to see nevertheless. And he had a really good showing in that match. He came close to winning, but no cigar. So anyway, I do think they'll continue to push him in a way. I'm not saying he's going to be the next US or IC champion. But I feel like he'll continue to do well in feuds, and they'll continue to push him. They are very high on Neville, and rightfully so. They've done right by him since he arrived in the main roster 2 months ago, which is great to see. He's an amazing talent, like I said before, and I think he's going to stay right where he's at right now, which I think for right now anyway is the perfect place for him. Continue to win feuds over. Maybe he enters the feud with Sheamus for the time being, as it was Sheamus who knocked Neville off the top of the ladder, and as we usually know from Money in the Bank, from past Money in the Bank matches, the two people that, are the last ones standing in a Money in the Bank ladder match usually feud. So, Punk and Kane from 2009. We had it in maybe 2011. I know we had it with Barrett and Bryan. So, maybe that's the case come tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. Or come tonight on Raw. I don't know. But that'd be a feud I'd be definitely down for the meantime, or at least for the summer. Neville Sheamus feud, sign me up. His last question here. I was watching this past week's episode of NXT, and I'm getting this feeling that NXT is losing interest in Bull Dempsey due to the fact they were having him heading in this weight loss angle. What are your early thoughts about this? So it's not like they're losing interest in Bull Dempsey. They lost interest in Bull Dempsey months ago. I said this during that feud, but he was dead in the water after that Baron Corbin feud. Why they dragged it on for as long as they did, I have no idea. To have him lose once. Okay, lose twice, pushing it 3 times in a row, buried the guy. The guy was done after that. No one cared about Bull Dempsey. He was not even on TV. He lost quick squash matches to Tyler Breeze and Hideo Itami and all these other guys, Finn Balor. So at that point, why? No one cared. Why bother pushing him? But I think he's good. I'm not saying he's terrible. He does remind me of that old school kind of competitor. I'm not a Bull Dempsey hater. And I'm quite the opposite. I think it's actually the opposite of what you're trying to ask here in your question. I don't think they're losing interest in him by giving him this weight loss angle. I think they already lost interest in him, and they're trying to bring him back to relevance with this angle. And I know that sounds weird. I think it's a stupid storyline too, the whole weight loss thing, get back in shape, whatever. Do I think it's dumb? Totally. I thought it was dumb then. I still think it's dumb a couple days later, a week removed from the show. But At the very least, at least they're doing something with him. It's not great. I think they could be doing more with him. But, maybe the crowd gets into it. Full Sail is a very weird place. They'll cheer you one week, they'll boo you the next. So maybe he becomes a big fan favorite in NXT. I don't know. But at least they're giving him a character, they're giving him an identity, and they're not just having him flounder in the undercard, like he was doing before. At least it's a step in the right direction. So I will say that much about Bull Dempsey's resurgence, I guess is one word to say, to describe it as right now. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they kind of go with that. Moving into the Twitter questions here. First one being from @TakerGirl007. Their question was, what is your favorite Dusty Rhodes promo? So I'm not going to pretend like I was around when he was wrestling back in the 70s or 80s, or that I've seen many of his, promos or mic work or whatever. Of all time, the Hard Times promo, of course. I mean, that's his most famous promo, and it has to be my favorite. I mean, I've seen it when Maria Menounos, excuse me, that's the tongue twister, did it at the Hall of Fame ceremony this past year. I thought that was awesome. Became a huge fan of hers. I thought she was, she's always been great. And she gets a lot of unnecessary flack from fans of WWE for whatever reason. Anytime a celebrity, associates himself, for the most part, with WWE, people just shit all over him. Sometimes rightfully so. But a girl like Maria Menounos, who's a huge fan of WWE, always has been, always will be, there's no reason to crap all over her. But anyway, the Hard Times promo, either that or, like I'm talking about, since I became a fan in 2008, he's been on TV a handful of times in that, in the last 7 years since I became a fan. But, I don't know, maybe the most recent promos that he was cutting with, like, Cody Rhodes and Goldust, in late 2013 when he was in the ring with Stephanie, when he was cutting, like, the Hard Times the Hard Times promo stuff, and, it's Hard Times, I'm just a common man, why you mowing my grass, or something like that. I thought it was funny, so I enjoyed that content when he was on TV in late 2013. That, and also, earlier this year, the backstage stuff that he did with Goldust and Cody, or Stardust, whatever. The back and forth promos they had backstage, which I don't know why that feud got scrapped. That was great stuff, and I really enjoyed that. So either those promos or the one from 2013, or probably of all time, the Hard Times promo. I mean, I think that goes without saying for a lot of people anyway. Especially for someone like me that was not all that exposed to his mic work and old promos and matches and stuff. I haven't seen many of his matches, but my favorite promo of his would have to be the Hard Times promo. Next question from @Swagzio. Their question was, who will Seth Rollins feud with next? Brock Lesnar going into SummerSlam, I presume. I mean, they could do it as early as tonight and do Rollins and Lesnar at Battleground, but it's too soon. I don't want to see that as soon as... and then do a rematch at SummerSlam. I want to see the first ever one-on-one meeting between those two at SummerSlam. Do not do it any sooner, in my opinion. They probably will tonight on Raw. They'll confirm it for Battleground, but I think it's better if they just save it until SummerSlam. The first ever one-on-one meeting that has SummerSlam written all over it. But in the meantime, who does it feud with? Ambrose is pretty much done in the title picture. Unless they want to do another match, I don't see why they would. Ambrose has lost 3 times on pay-per-view. Love Ambrose, but you can't do it again, I don't think. At least right now. Roman Reigns is busy. So I don't know. I don't know what you do next with Seth Rollins over the championship. They might do like a tag team match or something. Like maybe Lesnar and Ambrose. I know that's weird. I don't know what they'll do, but I'm looking forward to it. I think this next major feud, then they might have a placeholder feud, maybe Rollins and Kane in the next pay-per-view. But definitely at the SummerSlam show, I could absolutely see Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, which I will be in attendance for, as I always say, SummerSlam in 69 more days. Insert your own joke there. At the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Cannot wait for that show. # no sleep till Brooklyn. I will be there. But anyway, though, save Rollins and Lesnar for SummerSlam. That should be his next major feud over the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. His next question, what are your thoughts on Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley being a tag team? It's funny, because here on the show last week I said, someone asked, I think it might have been @Swagzio, who do you see not making it out of NXT? And I said Mojo Rawley. I just don't think the guy is that good. I'm a fan of his in the way that I love his intensity, I love his positivity, it's great. But from an in-ring work perspective, I just don't think he's that good at all, and I don't think he's going to make it to the main roster. That said, though, I feel like the tag team with Zack Ryder hides his weaknesses. Like, their positivity, their enthusiasm last week was infectious. The crowd was red hot for them. Zack Ryder looked beyond ecstatic to be in NXT. It was so great to see. As a longtime broski, as a longtime Zack Ryder fan, it's so happy to see him happy for the first time in a long time, other than the Cena Open Challenge a couple weeks ago. But a tag team between those two, I'm down for it. The NXT tag team division needs more help right now, needs more teams. So I could absolutely, I'd be definitely open to them being a tag team for the near future, whether it be on the main roster or in NXT. That'd be the only way that Mojo Rawley is going to get over at all, or do anything of note, is in a tag team. Because as a singles guy, I don't think he's going to make it very far, given his current in-ring work. But it hides his weakness as well, and I think people were kind of shitting all over Mojo when he left, because he was kind of boring, he wasn't exciting, whatever, but coming back, a resurgence of his career in this tag team with Zack Ryder, I think it'd be very fun, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Next set of questions come from Texan fan 3085. Their question was, first one being, where does the Divas Championship go from here? They might do another rematch between Nikki and Paige at the next pay-per-view, considering the finish of last night's match. I would not be surprised, but Paige should not be the one to take the title off of Nikki Bella. It should absolutely be Charlotte. Charlotte, in my opinion, is the next feud for Nikki Bella. Maybe she wins the belt from her at SummerSlam, whatever. But Charlotte, it is her time to be called up. It has to be right now. She is ready, so I'm very much looking forward to her being called up. Hopefully either tonight. If it's tonight, I'm looking forward to it. That'd be awesome. But it's definitely not going to be on a go-home show. It's either going to be tonight or at some point, out on the night after a pay-per-view when Nikki's done with Paige. They got 5 weeks until the next pay-per-view. I do not want to see them drag out this Paige and Nikki feud for the next 5 weeks. We saw this feud earlier this year, so it's not really that much different. I don't want to see it continue. They had a good match last night, and I don't want to see Paige win the belt back this soon anyway. So, call up Charlotte and do that at Battleground or SummerSlam. I'd be totally down for that. Next question, what's next for Dean Ambrose? Honestly, I really have no idea. Reigns is moving on to Wyatt. I thought they were going to do Reigns and Ambrose at SummerSlam. It does not look like it's going to be the case. Unless something happens, it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Maybe they write Ambrose off for a couple weeks after the beating that he took last night. I'd be surprised because the finish of that match was kind of controversial, and Ambrose might say, I deserve another shot at the title. So maybe they do another match, but after losing 3 times to Rollins, I don't feel like it's necessary to do another match between the two at the Battleground pay-per-view 5 weeks from now. But regardless, though, who else can you have him feud with? I'm trying to think of other heels. Like an Ambrose Sheamus feud, I would be down for the time being if they don't do Sheamus and Neville. I mean, Orton wouldn't make much sense. He's the babyface right now. So I'm trying to think of other heels. Rusev's out. Kane, I don't really want to see. So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward. I mean, maybe we'll find out tonight on Raw. But I'm not really sure. There's really no obvious direction that Dean Ambrose takes next. His next step is not really all that clear, but we will find out tonight on Raw, hopefully. Maybe they write him off, maybe they don't, but I'm looking forward to it because we don't know what direction they're going into SummerSlam, and I like that feeling of uncertainty. Now, sometimes they don't, this company has no idea what they're doing, and we don't know what they're doing, they probably don't either, but at least in this case, I feel like there's some sort of long-term plan, or at least I hope so. I know that's wishful thinking when it comes to WWE's creative, but in this case, at least I hope so, that there is some long-term booking for Dean Ambrose. His next question: Where will John Cena versus Kevin Owens 3 take place? Hopefully it's SummerSlam again. I know I'm saying all this SummerSlam stuff. It's not just because I'm going to be there, but just because a lot of these matches deserve to go down at that pay-per-view. But if they don't do it at Battleground, then it's SummerSlam. Maybe they have Cena take some time off. I don't think the Powerbomb was that vicious. They have to write Cena off for 5 weeks. I mean, he got killed by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. He was back 8 days later, not showing a single scar. So the fact he took, the powerbomb wasn't even as bad as some of the, not as bad as in that was terrible, but bad as in excruciating, painful, It was not as painful as some of the other powerbombs he did to Alex Riley and Neville and Zayn over in NXT. Those were freaking brutal. The Cena one was, a pat on the back compared to those ones. That was easy pickings. But anyway, either a Battleground or SummerSlam, I feel like, are either of the 2 stages. Probably SummerSlam, but they could do 4 matches for all we know, but anyway, I feel like SummerSlam would be wise to do it at. Save it for the big stage, in my opinion. Next question, at Eli, the big guy, their question was, wouldn't it have been great for Sheamus to cash in right after Seth Rollins won? When do you see him cashing in? Not really. Am I opposed to Sheamus being WWE Champion? Not at all. I think it'd be cool if he cashed in successfully, to be quite honest with you. But Rollins is a heel, Sheamus is a heel. That's not the first time that's happened. I know Swagger, when he cashed in on a heel Jericho, so it's not going to make him a babyface or anything like that, but there's really no obvious direction for him right now as world champions, and I want to see Rollins in the long term as the champion going into SummerSlam, so there's no reason to take the title off of Rollins right now. So I don't think it would have been great for that to happen, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't have an issue with Sheamus winning the match, but that would have felt way too soon. It would have felt like it was way too soon. Because right now is not the time for Sheamus to be cashing in my opinion. So maybe in the fall, like I said before, we could see Sheamus cashing in the opportunistic briefcase. The next couple of questions come from Daniel Cabeza 59. First one being, who is your favorite female wrestler of all time and why? And he doesn't like to use the term diva. Neither do I. I think it's stupid as well. But I mean, this women's wrestler, I guess you can call her, is more fit of the description of a diva than it is a female wrestler. So it's kind of funny you said that. But my favorite women's wrestler, diva, whatever in WWE history has to be Maryse. I know that's not why didn't he say Mickie James or Trish Stratus or Lita? I don't know. I love Mickie, love Trish, love Lita especially. But I don't know, Maryse was always my favorite. I love Maryse from when I became a fan. She's gorgeous. She was always good in the ring, in my opinion. She was always a great character. She was always such a bitch on TV. She was an awesome character. So she was always my favorite diva, female, women's wrestler, whatever you want to call them. I prefer female wrestler as well. Women's wrestler, that's what they are. Damn it, not fucking divas. But yeah, Maryse was always my number one. Probably always will be. And at a close second, Eve. Loved Eve, babyface, especially as a heel. She was always very good. Even better in the ring than Maryse. She was gorgeous. She was a great character. Eve was always my number two as well. So Maryse and Eve are my top two favorite. Paige and AJ are up there as well. They're great. They're definitely my top five. Most beautiful divas of all time. Like personal, all subjective, of course. But my number one would probably have to be Maryse, and AJ and Paige and Eve are up there as well. I don't know if Eve is my number one. I'd probably put AJ as my number one in retrospect, but Maryse is my my undisputed number one, my favorite divas of all time in WWE history. His second question, do you hate when WWE makes the results of matches very obvious, like in the Cena versus Owens match that we saw? Yes, I hate it when they make their matches very predictable, but that was not the case in that match, and especially not the Money in the Bank ladder match, like I said before. That's why I love the result of that contest, because no one saw that coming, and it made sense, too. They didn't swerve us for the sake of swerving us. Sheamus is somewhat logical. I think he deserves it at this point in time. You can argue whether he deserves it or not, but I'm not at all opposed to him holding that briefcase, like I said before. And the Cena-Owens match could have very well gone either way. So that was not predictable at all. Owens, I was banking on winning. I thought they were going to have a win. They didn't. But it very well could have gone either way. And that wasn't predictable at all. But I do hate when they make it I do hate when they make it an obvious outcome. Like, oh, Cena's going to win the Rumble. Cena's going to beat Rock at WrestleMania. It's more so with Cena than other people. But in this match, had no idea who was going to win. So I have to disagree with you there, dude, that match was predictable. I didn't think it was predictable at all. I thought there was an equal chance of either guy winning, and that's what made it that much more enjoyable for me. Daniel's next question was, what are your top 5 favorite themes in wrestling history? You know, I don't like making top 5 lists and stuff like that. I mean, I know I make them here for the channel sometimes in articles, and I put it on Twitter and stuff like that, but it's really hard, not because I don't like the lists and stuff, but I hate doing it because I have so many favorites. Like, I love wrestling so much. I have a lot of favorite superstars, a lot of favorite wrestlers, a lot of favorite matches, pay-per-views, and moments, and stuff like that. Theme songs is no different. I have well over at least 100 theme songs on my iPod. No exaggeration. A lot of theme songs. Not all of them like I love and stuff, but I always have them just in case like I need it. I don't know, for whatever reason. If I'm doing something like for my radio show and I need a theme for my iPod, whatever. I have a lot of themes in my iPod. A lot of them I do listen to because a lot of them are great. But anyway, in no specific order, some of my favorite theme songs of all time. And again, I picked more than 5 here, but these are the ones that when you asked that question, these were the ones that first came to my mind. Number 1 undoubtedly would have to be Cult of Personality, my favorite song of all time. When I heard that for the very first time, I mean, I didn't know, I'm a mark. I didn't hear that song before Punk started using it back in 2011 in WWE. I didn't even know of it when he was using it in Ring of Honor. I never watched Ring of Honor, but I didn't know he was using it before he started using it in the summer of Punk, and from that point forward, I listened to it at least 20 times in like the span of 2 days after he debuted on that episode of Raw. I jammed out to it that night. I jammed out to it all week. And it's that one song that every single time I put on my headphones, which is close to almost every single day when I'm in the car or whatever, I'm walking, I'm moving, I'm listening to my iPod. It's that one song I almost always listen to because I love it so much. Whether he's here or not, love this song, my favorite theme song of all time. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. So, CM Punk, Cult of Personality would have to be number 1. But again, in no other specific order. Real American, definitely top 3. Love that song. My favorite legendary theme of all time. The NWO entrance music, how could I forget that? Christian's theme, the newer one. I know people like the older one, but I don't know. I just like the new one more. I know I like the older one is more heelish, but I like the upbeat story of the year version of it. So I love the new one. Jericho's theme song, of course. Alex Riley's, I know, is completely. You have all these greats like Jericho, Punk, Hogan, NWO, then they have Alex Riley, but he has a great theme song. "Say It to My Face" by Downstate. Speaking of Downstate, I got to put in Miz's in there as well. Also got to mention him. Miz, I'm trying to think of other themes, but those are the ones that come to mind. And when I think of my favorite theme songs of all time, Ultimate Warrior's theme. Dusty Rhodes, a great song as well. So yeah, Hogan, Punk, NWO, Christian, Jericho, and Alex Riley, and those are the first ones that come to mind. Dean Ambrose is cool, Kevin Owens as well, Brock Lesnar has to be up there, Ultimate Warrior. But yeah, those are a few of my favorite theme songs in wrestling history. But speaking of Dusty Rhodes, his final question here: what are your favorite Dusty Rhodes feuds? Again, I was not watching the 70s and 80s. I do not watch many. I don't watch much old content on the network. Like, I watch stuff from the 90s, and of course Rhodes was pretty much done by that point. I don't watch 80s or 70s content for the most part, but I'm well aware. The only real feud that I could say for that question was the Ric Flair feud. I mean, I watched that back in watching the Rivalries episode on the WWE Network. I thought that was great. They have a lot of cool feuds on that show. You had Edge and Matt Hardy. You had Edge and Christian versus the Hardys. You had Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. A lot of iconic feuds, but it was great to give people who watched that rivalry show a nice little blast from the past with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and it made me learn a few things as well. So go back and check out that. I think his documentary's on the network too. I gotta watch that at some point, but I might rewatch that episode of Rivalries back on the network. But my favorite Dusty Rhodes feud by default would have to be his feud with Ric Flair. And I also watched their match. I think it was with Dusty Rhodes from the I think it was it 1984. The Starrcade pay-per-view, the Flair for the Gold when Ric Flair won the championship. I think it was Dusty Rhodes that he beat for the championship. His first ever world title. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was. But, yeah, I thought that was a great match, too. But, yeah, by default, my favorite Dusty Rhodes feud has to be Ric Flair. Next question from Cody Collier, 37. His question was, how do you see WWE bringing back Brock Lesnar into the storylines? And what do you see most, or what do you like most about Sheamus being Mr. Money in the Bank? So, how do you bring back Brock Lesnar? I mean, by the time that most of you watch this video, it's either going to be... I mean, you might watch this before Raw, and if you do, dedicated viewer, I appreciate it, love you, thanks. And if you don't, it's fine. But if you watch this after Raw or later on in the week, he's probably already come back. I think he's scheduled to be back tonight on Raw. It's not being advertised by WWE, and why would they? The guy's supposed to be suspended, but it is being advertised by the Live Arena website, whatever. So I don't know. I'm actually pretty curious. People have said maybe he wins the briefcase, he, makes his presence known in the world title match, whatever. Because the last time we saw him, he was suspended in storyline indefinitely by the Authority. At what point they would bring him back. Maybe he comes back and wreaks havoc, like, bring me back or I'll break another guy's neck like I did the night after WrestleMania. I don't know. That'd be pretty awesome. And this time threatening, I don't know, someone that we all hate. I don't know. Oh, Machine Gun Kelly. Not that I hate Machine Gun Kelly, but that'd be pretty sweet. I'll F5 him off the stage unless you give me another title opportunity, and they give him the title opportunity, and then he F5s him off the stage anyway. That'd be great to see. I want to see some celebrity get their ass handed to them. Not just because it's Machine Gun Kelly. I like this WrestleMania theme song, Invincible for 28. So I don't really have a huge problem with him. I don't know why there's so much hate for him online. I know a lot of people just don't like musical acts on Raw. I'm not a huge fan either. I don't like when Wiz Khalifa did. I didn't like it then. I don't like it when Machine Gun Kelly does it. Whatever. But the only real celebrity to take a bump for wrestling in WWE when they guest hosted was Mark Cuban. I mean, there's probably other people. I know. Was it Wayne Brady? I think it was Wayne Brady. I don't know who it was. Or Meatloaf, I think. They took an RKO from Randy Orton like 5 years ago, so props to them. But Mark Cuban got, tackled through a fucking table by Sheamus back in late 2009. That was nuts. But anyway, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, I really don't know. That's why, again, uncertainty is good in this case. That I really have no idea how they're going to bring him back. It's not predictable, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to Raw, seeing how seeing how it's done. Next question, at BigBird432, their question was, with Tyson Kidd injured, do you think that he should reunite the Real Americans? I've seen a couple other people mention that as well. Now that Cesaro's a babyface, Jack Swagger's a babyface, and I like Jack Swagger, should they put him back together? I wouldn't be opposed to it, but like I said earlier, I feel like now is the time to start pushing Cesaro. they really now have no excuse. Unless he gets injured or something, now they have no excuse to start pushing him. He's over now as a babyface. Start pushing him as the single star he is destined to be. It sucks that that Tyson Kidd got hurt. God forbid that Kevin Owens got hurt, but it sucks that I said it fucking again. That Tyson Kidd got hurt. I see Kevin, I see Kidd. I'm thinking of the K. That's why. But while it's unfortunate that Kidd is out with an injury for the time being, there's absolutely zero excuse. There is absolutely no excuse as to why they can't be pushing this guy right now in singles competition, that being Cesaro. So start pushing him. Real Americans Reunion would be cool. They were an awesome tag team. Should have won the belts, but whatever. And in the meantime, though, just start pushing Cesaro. I think now is the time. Start doing it now. They should have put him in the Money to Make ladder match and had him win the briefcase, but what's done is done. But start pushing him. I'd much rather see that than a Real Americans Reunion. We have enough tag teams right now. We have face tag team champions anyway. They wouldn't win the belts anytime in the near future, so I'm fine with Cesaro being pushed as singles competitor, and a Real Americans Reunion right now would not make much sense, considering we have babyface tag team champions, as I just said. Would be cool, but not top priority right now anyway. Final two questions come from @RJ_Marceau on the Twitter. RJ's first question was, with Seth Rollins going over Dean Ambrose, who do you see him facing at Battleground? Seth Rollins, I have no idea, like I mentioned before, and I think, again, I keep on saying this is kind of like the key word, uncertainty. Again, maybe WWE has no idea. I would not put that past them. But I'm actually kind of excited to see what they have in store. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they rushed Rollins and Lesnar and did it at Battleground. I hope not. But I think it would be better if we saw a tag team match and they saved that singles match for SummerSlam. Again, it wouldn't be the first time they wasted a pay-per-view main event, at the pay-per-view before or whatever. But I think it'd be better if they just saved that first ever match, their first ever encounter, singles match anyway, for SummerSlam. So I'd much rather see that. But what does he do in the meantime then? I have no idea. Lesnar will be back on TV. So would it make any sense for Lesnar to come back and then not feud Rollins right off the bat? Like I said, maybe they do a tag team match. I don't want to see Lesnar and Kane or something at Battleground. I think that'd be dumb. We've never seen that before, but Kane, come on. In 2015 versus Lesnar, not a huge fan. But yeah, I don't know. We'll find out more tonight on Raw. And an Ambrose Rollins feud, another match between them, yeah, sure, it'd be cool, but he's already beaten 3 times. We don't need to see it. I'm not going to bitch and moan about it, but from a storyline standpoint, there is absolutely no reason for it to continue. I know Rollins, there was some controversy over the finish, but it wasn't that controversial to the point where we need to see another match between them come Battleground. We don't need to see that. Rollins won fair and square. The rules of the match state whoever has possession of the belt, when all is said and done. I know they were both holding on to it, but it was Rollins who captured it, who had full possession of it first. I think, anyway, if the replay was any indicator that, Rollins retained. So that's it. End the feud for right now, and then have Rollins move on to bigger and better things, moving into SummerSlam. I don't know where Ambrose goes, like I said before. I don't know what you do with Rollins, but some sort of authority tag team match against Brock Lesnar and a tag team partner would be pretty cool if I do say so myself. It's his first tag team match in over 10 years at the very least, anyway. And his final question, what are your thoughts on the New Day losing the titles already? I'm not a fan of the constant changing of the tag team titles. It feels like those titles have changed hands at least 4 or 5 times in the last couple of months. You have you have Stardust and Goldust win it last year. Then Miz and Mizdow, the Usos, Cesaro and Kidd, the New Day, and then the Primetime Players. That's like 4 or 5 or 6 teams in the span of 6 months. That's crazy. But I love the Primetime Players. Now was the time to put the belts on them. I feel like they are so good. And if they waited another month, I don't know if the title change would have meant as much, if people would have been behind them as much as they were last night, or at least as happy as they were for the title change. So I'm glad they didn't, I don't know what the word for it would be, but, drag it out, I guess is the proper term, instead, where people wouldn't care. Like when Beth Phoenix won the Divas Championship in late 2011, it would have meant so much more if she did it at SummerSlam or Night of Champions. When she did it at Hell in a Cell, people just were like, cool, she's champ, finally. It would have been better if they capitalized when the iron was hot. Strike the iron while it's hot. That is the term I'm looking for. That was slipping my mind before. Do it when the iron, or strike when the iron is hot. The iron was hot last night when there was the PTPers, hashtag millions of dollars, baby, when the tag team titles finally, I was so happy to see it. And the New Day are awesome. They can continue to do their thing without the tag team titles. Maybe they win them back, I don't know. But I feel like the plan is to have the Primetime Players have a nice little run. At least they could say they were tag team champions once. It's very, very well deserved. Happy to see it. And then you can give the belts to the Wyatt family, who also deserve the belts and should have won them last year, but to each their own. Shit happens. And then you could do maybe the Usos versus the Wyatt family when the Usos come back later on this year or early next year. That'd be pretty freaking sweet if I do say so myself. So, didn't have a huge problem with the New Day losing the belts last night. I know it does not, bode well for the tag team division. And, the WWE really needs to find that tandem they can stick to and build that division around, much like they did with the Usos for much of last year. But I feel like the primetime players were well-deserving or, have very much earned their run with those tag team titles, so I had no problem with it. And we can also get the belts on the Wyatt family come SummerSlam. Then you can build the division around them for the fall and for the summer, whatever. So that's how I would book it anyway. #book it. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of #AskGSM. Thank you for watching. And if you want to send in a question, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights, or leave a comment on the wall itself. And lastly, you can leave a comment on this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So without further ado, folks, thank you for your support. Oh, and finally, make sure to check out my website, nextEraWrestling.net, for my full written reviews of Raw, last night's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, all the other Money in the Bank pay-per-view events, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015 from last night. Full other written reviews of SmackDown, Ring of Honor, TNA Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, Main Event Superstars, and everything else in between. All your support is greatly appreciated. Just a heads up, if you're watching this before Raw tonight, I will not have live coverage of Raw as I usually do on the website at nextEraWrestling.net. As I will be, I think I'll be leaving around like 10:30. I'll be catching most of Raw. I'll be live tweeting and stuff like that, but no live coverage. I'll be leaving around like 10:30. I'm going to actually see an employee showing because I work at a movie theater. I'll be going to see an employee showing of Jurassic World tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. Worth missing the ending of Raw for. If anything epic happens, I'll find out later tonight or tomorrow when I watch it, and the review should be up of the show either late Monday night, later tonight, like maybe 2 or 3 or something. I don't know about that late, but or Tuesday morning. It should be up at some point, so definitely expect that. So just a heads up. But usually that we do have live coverage of Raw, of all the pay-per-views, including last night on nextEraWrestling.net. Once again, guys, thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch you guys down the road.